Hope everyone is enjoying their day today. I know that sounds redundant. Several hours ago, I was made privy to a message that a person left and apparently retracted. And I say that because typically, when you receive some type of response to a video, you get an email in regards to it, and you click it, and it usually will send you to that person's response. Now, I'm not going to identify who the person is because they, seem like a nice and decent individual. Um, and also, I don't want it to seem as though I'm particularly targeting them. I'm more so crediting their comment for sparking what I'm going to say. Now, what they indicated was that they were under the belief, based on several responses, where I'll explain, Mr. Daly, where they were convinced after reading um, through the various responses I had to my material that I was attempting to seek out females or women's that are tens out of 10, or just of extra superb quality. Yes, I agree. That's very amusing. Um, and when I read that, at first I rolled my eyes because I've actually in the past been called desperate for going and trying to interact with most, if not all, members of the opposite sex that showed interest. I did that because I'm really, in my view, not that hard to please. Um, I of course have various things I prefer in regards to looks and personality, like most other people, but for the most part, as long as you do not bring drama or strife or annoyance, which a overwhelming portion of the women I've been attracted to have been able to avoid. No, it's average. They always want to. Yeah, Mr. V. I'm kind of feeling that way at times too. But as long as you're able to avoid bringing strife, I would say that most are able to um, have a chance, if that makes sense. Again, I just don't see myself as a person who's really that impossible. Trouble with no, no. Well, that's the thing. What I might consider superbly attractive, or a 10 out of 10, somebody else might say is a 7 out of 10. Now, I have had various women that I've spoken to that I thought varying ways about their appearance, but there was enough within interacting with that person where it overrode or otherwise made what they looked like either complimentary or just not circumstantial. And I guess that's what's really aggravating about having someone that is not privy to, I don't want to say my cause or the fight for romance, but rather category choice for, well, most of my, I always use the category of comedy. I don't know what to refer to you as 0823. Well, were you the only one interested in them? I'm not sure what you mean by that. You'll have to clarify, Um, Mr. Brickstown. So, in going and reading through that comment, the person, how you doing, World of Psy? The person made that accusation. I've had it actually been said before, which is what caused me to want to respond to it. It's 100%. Are you sought after? Are they, man, I don't know what you're saying. Are they sought after women? As in, are they sought after by others? Are they seeking me out? What are you referring to? I just want clarification. I'm a little slow today. A little inexperienced in your word choice, if that adds up. Let me read what Mr. TFL said. Why do people look at relationships like it's 100% on one person, it's 50-50? That's actually kind of amusing. Um, Distinctively, there was a woman I spoke to last year that I reconnected with this year. Now, she ended our communication. I started back up again. We spoke for a week, and I noticed a trend where I would message her, she wouldn't respond. Someone who's looking into that can say, okay, well, she wasn't interested. Um, but she kept telling me, why should we continue speaking if we're not getting anywhere in our dialogue? And I explained to her, we're not getting anywhere because every time I try to talk to you, you don't respond. If I call, you don't answer. If I send a some message out of the blue, you usually don't answer. So it becomes this game of, okay, well, obviously, again, leave them alone, but also, how are you making it seem as if there is this attempt on both of our parts to just not try and make anything out of our what we had in the past, or something reminiscent of that. It didn't make sense to me. So I also would interject that there was another line spoken in that message where the person told me, "Good luck waiting for that large." We call it the 10 out of 10 because they're far and few in between. I don't know how true that is because I've never really done that ranking system. There were some women I've approached I thought were nicer than others, some that I guess looked better than others, but I didn't go, oh yes, on a scale of 1 to 10, you are a 5.6. On a scale of 1 to 10, you are a 7.9. On a scale of 1 to 10, you are a 2.2. Who does that? I don't. It just feels like, what grading level are you using for that? Is it just appearance? Is it net worth? Is it you know where they're located? What factors are going into it? Yeah, I agree. World of Psy, it's rude to rate. I've never done that because I don't. This isn't exactly a. I don't know. It's not. I don't. How do I explain this? It's not really something where the person, if I'm speaking to them, is just the individual, and I'll assess those things as they proceed. But I'm not really comparing them to anything else, and I don't have a ranking system. So I don't know where those numbers come from. And again, what I might consider a 10 out of 10, someone else might think is a 3.3 out of 1 or something else inflammatory. How you feel is how you determine it. Did you not learn your lesson? Doubt that was fiction. I'm not sure what Terra is. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Yeah, I agree. I think she is Bridgetown. I'm not sure. She'll have to. She slash he will. I'm sorry. I forgot. We'll have to confirm it. I hope I didn't offend World of Psy. I don't want to make it seem as if I'm implying that you're one or the other. Again, the usernames always trip me up when they don't have any distinctive. They don't lead toward one gender or the other. Also, I attempted to fix the lighting where there was a little shadow thing. Oh, okay, yeah. Sorry, Mr. Dayla. I've been kind of again. I was. People don't drop references to my stuff usually. How are you doing, Mr. Hold on. Let me see who else is in here. How you doing, this Tatiana? So, um, yeah, but the ranking system that's something I've heard of in the past, and it's another thing where people and there's so many responses to my stuff that just I would love to pick apart and dismantle because they're built on classic themes where Brock Vulture says the rating system is used to determine beauty, such as finding with a voluptuous figure. Yeah, I get that, but again, that appearance, that was all that mattered to me. I would just go to, what do you call it? I would have, tried to only look for that. And I don't feel I do that. And obviously, someone looking in will assess that as, oh, he's probably making that up to make it portray himself as this person who is, seeking dialogues and companionship. But in reality, he's actually all about looks. That's the narrative that will be made of my viewpoints. That again, another person does not factually know and can only go off of what I say and what I do. If you see me, only try and interact with, I don't know, women you would assess as supermodel in appearance or these supposed 10s out of 10s or maybe even 9.5s, and yeah, don't feel anything when then you might, you're, I think you're having a misconception about what I'm saying. Um, I feel things when you in the might be quality you look for something. That's the point I'm making. World of Psy is saying you look for more qualities than just appearance. Yeah, again, that's where there's almost this drop where people can't understand in attempting to. I just let me break it down again because there seems to be a an inability to remember things unless I repeat it on the part of some commentators. If I am seeking a person to have a long standing companionship that turns into something more than platonic, why would I only assess their viability based off of appearance? I'm really at a loss for words because there seems to be this thing where a lot of people who respond to this keep drawing these conclusions, and it's part of this game we have going in our heads. And I do the same thing. We like to justify why things are the way they are. Case in point, if a person is, of course you don't, but you take it into account. Yeah, I'm not saying I don't. Miss Brought Vulture says, like, even if we didn't have ratings, people could still tell whether someone is healthy or not. Yeah, well, I don't use the ranking system, um, so I'm just saying that's not what I'm implementing here. And the fact that I have people who are not privy to the extent of what I guess, had in the past, is irritating. Okay, V is asking about MG Toe. I have no opinion. I do not consider myself affiliated with them, nor do I rebuke any of what they're doing. I have to. I'm relatively ignorant of their culture. I'd have to go and familiarize myself with it. Who's for use? If she doesn't meet you, then you just drop her. Uh, Again, physical requirement. I don't know what that all entails because I have preferences that people still manage to break. I used to only, I used to favor, for example, women that were 5'7" or taller, and then I met one who was very much had everything else I liked in terms of personality, and was, I think, outwardly attractive, and she was 5'5". So that little height requirement got tossed out the window. I don't see where we have this idea that if a person has a type, they can't break through or otherwise get rid of some factor of it. In this day and age, men have to lower this. Hey, to the bottom of the barrel, huh? Here we go. Um, so, well, TFL, that's actually pretty interesting because when you have a person that is, having to deal with, and that thing in the background will be over in a moment. But if you have a person that's lowering their standards that far down, that should tell them, because you can't build an interaction based off of, okay, this is what is available. When I was in, for example, preschool, and I was seeking a best friend, there were plenty of kids I could have met, I could have talked to, I could have had an interaction with, and I didn't say with mine, oh, I'm just going to pick my best friend because he's the best of the bottom of the barrel. But what I'm stating here is that you still pick that person based off of how good they are, otherwise what is appealing about them. Oh my god, that message. I've seen men have a height limit of 5'8" or shorter, never a height requirement though. What if you met someone who was exactly what you wanted physically and mentally, except she was trans? I don't know. I've never had that happen. I'd have to, again, that's actually a really, that's thought provoking. I have to give you that. I don't know. I've never experienced attraction to someone that's of that, I guess, background. That's a proper way of classifying it. Again, it would depend on this. We'd have to get there and see what occurred. Yeah, Mr. Bridgetown. I've never considered being affiliated with someone with the that past. And Mr. Harvey is his answer for me. HE double hockey stick. Okay. Let's see. Did I miss anything anyone said? I think I might not have responded to World of Side there about if they meet my views mentally and emotionally, but physical requirements. Again, people have not in the past. It's been broken. I've taken in appearance into account, obviously, but it's still because again, I look at it this way. I have approached dozens of women with varying levels of attraction in their appearance. Get you in it, so and then just see how they react to you. Yeah, well, I mean, you're telling me to go and this is kind of where the problem comes in. I have a thing where if it costs something, I'm not going to do it just for the potential of appealing to a group of people that, from all past accounts, weren't interested in anything I did before. I've tried to reveal the extent of my background sometimes, and that is set to turn some off. I've tried to keep it sealed up and hush, and that's set to turn some off. Are more complicated than, let's say, maybe traveling would do the trick. Um, for what it's worth, I would say the woman who appealed to me the most, and I really do mean she had a very special place in my heart. She appealed to me, at least personality wise, way more than any woman that was in the U.S. She was of a foreign region, so you might have something. There might be something to that, and I guess we could argue it's culture. I don't think it is because I've also met some that were over here that appealed as well, but I just think that's really interesting. It's a strange correlation I've ever had. I hope she comes back to TFL. Or I don't know how it ended. So any read World of Sci. If you can't take me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best. Who remembers that? Oh yeah, well, that's what gets me. Because if you go and look at a lot of that feedback, there are people who are making this thing of you got to put this clone on and you got to put this suit and tie on and you got to put this hat on and you have to smile and you have to act this way. I thought to myself, I'm gonna play this scripted character for the entirety of this relationship. When I can't, they want me to do it when I can't play the character for the entirety of the relationship. I'm gonna come out as who I am, which is a person who sometimes is negative, sometimes positive. It just depends on what particularly happens. But I can't act in a scripted manner. You don't have to do all that. You can get a maybe that's expensive for me. You don't know. I'm not exactly PewDiePie. I don't have some large amount of funds coming in daily. If you get what I'm saying. So, let's see. Mr. Harvey says, "Well, from what I see in comments, you have." So I think it's just area and place. You lived around more people like you around here. I'm not sure if I'm not saying you're lying, but I'm not sure that can be properly assessed. They're seeing a. I don't think most people over there have seen my content or otherwise are familiar with me. So, I think that's maybe you being positive, and that's fine. But I'm not sure of how true that is. Which again is not to say you're lying, but it's to suggest that there's a possibility that's not entirely accurate. It'd be the equivalent of me saying, if TFL came to California, man, they'd be all over him, and then he comes down here and he gets the same result, and I tell him, I didn't mean to, I wasn't trying to lie to you. I just thought your, you know, persona would be more interesting. Its background, Sugarland. Uh, let me read Mr. Harvey. Out here, go crazy. Yeah, Texas is a state I would be very interested in going to at one point or another. They have many, I guess, sites that I'd like to see. It's a pretty historically interesting place. So, that's a very possible scenario of me actually going there at one point or another, which still would not be in the exact near future because I have things I need to sort out. As I think anyone else would. We can't just say, "Oh yeah, tomorrow I'm gonna go to New York." You have to pre-plan these things. Let me see if I have anyone else's comment. See, did I miss anything? I don't think I did. Okay. And that's why I hate about when you answer questions and you think they're not coming necessarily as fast as they are sometimes, and you get to this period where if someone's actually watching this not as a stream, it's just a whole minute of me staring at the camera, just doing this rather. So you end up, it comes off as not necessarily the most entertaining thing afterward. As powerful emotions are, the thing with them is they pass. Even if she has one of the greatest conversations, man, she does nothing to cement it in her mind. She may very well. Um, I Let me see if I can interpret this correctly. And I am not a troll. Will be able to tell me whether or not this is what they mean. So you're implying that if the person oh, okay, so the emotions don't last forever, which I would agree with that. And uh, if he does nothing to cement it in her mind, I'm sorry, I'm just so confused by this. Uh, yeah, you're gonna have to respond with that again because otherwise I'm gonna keep having a bit of I'll forget in hours and days. Always get the practice to make a comment that straight outlines that states outright the emotions. Um, and I'm sorry, you're gonna have to. I don't know what you're saying. So okay, you said the thing about not working at this stage of technology. Yeah, Mr. Telesford, social media that's had very mixed consequences. I think I might do maybe a stream about the ramifications of the internet in terms of looks. Yet I'm alone my whole life. I just don't care at all. Well, you're fine to that, Mr. Justice. Um, but I'm thinking of maybe doing a stream on why the internet and technology advancing has almost crippled people in certain ways. Because I've seen many things I don't particularly favor, such as what's almost now an attempt to not use technology to their full capabilities. I mean, if we go back to the 40s and 50s, people had to go to libraries to get books on information about anything. Um, and because of that, you would think in this current age, we could just type in something and get the information on Google. People would go and actually try to use that, and they don't, which is saddening. I think I heard something about most people are getting their news from Facebook. I don't know if that's correct or not. Don't take my word for it. It's just word of mouth. Mr. Brought Vulture says, if you visit Texas for relationships, do you think your previous knowledge might hinder your advances? Not to claim that you will, but something similar. But oh my God, why is that person? And this is what I don't get. The people who are apparently against, you know, that type of idea of just going out and exacting your supposed revenge on various women who turned you down are the same ones bringing them up. And it's bizarre because I had a couple of comments on that video bringing this guy's name up. And that's now the central figure of if you can't be successful in this. We're not going to try and talk or rationalize or come with some new strategy or maybe try something different. No, we're just going to go and act like freaks and spray a bunch of innocent people and then bring it up years later and go, you're going to be like that guy, you're going to be like that guy? If they are stuck up because they give them validation. Yeah, I agree, Mr. Justice. But yeah, I'm tired of, why do people who know that there is a negative connotation with being associated with that person have to go out and just bring them up? I mean, I'm thinking of just about imposing some kind of embargo where anytime somebody puts that name in the comment section, it just gets snatched off of there. I'm tired of reading that nonsense. Well, his last name on his account is Justice, so I've been using Mr. for most of the people involved. I think they are hot and deserve. Well, again, somebody might think the average person is a hot person. I have, I didn't exactly think I was hot or, appearance really was always just average. And I've had some people say I'm, the equivalent of the night man, or, that I am at some higher standard than I would see myself as being. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and when people claim that one is necessarily that great, yeah, that's an informal phrase. Well, actually, that's an older term from the 19th century that was used to describe the appearance of President Lincoln by a woman who found him unattractive. So I'm referencing that. or a horse swapper, if you want to, also go back to something else that was from that period. How can I have and people? Oh man, do not ask me about Mr. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't say that. Bridgetown is opposed to that. I'm just gonna say the evil driller. I'm. Do not ask me for advice on getting any type of, you know, person or relationship. I am not the person to go to. That's the equivalent of asking someone, "Hey, you just wrecked your car. Can you teach me how to not wreck cars?" It's not. I'm not certified to do that. Okay, Mr. Harvey says, "Girls love a man that talks to them." From what I've learned these days, it, treating them completely just doesn't work. Make sure your worst enemy doesn't live between your own two ears. Okay, we all know that the whole world thinks about. We all know what the whole world thinks about the Western. Just keeps you in the friend zone. I don't know if look. I don't see anything wrong with this. The only thing that you look. Oh well. Oh well. Yeah, Mr. Harvey, I'm working on. I'm just trying. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't call you Mister. Bridgetown is opposed to that. I'm working on doing it. I will either have it tomorrow or the day after that. It's coming up. I'm just trying to figure out what exactly I'm going to state in there. I mean, it's probably going to be centered around the Tournament of Power and that whole arc, and I guess particularly that last episode. But it'll get discussed. It probably won't pull in the same amount of people, but it's still, it never bothered me before. So let's see what else we have here. I like how you didn't even say when are you gonna do the discussion. Just Dragon Ball Super discussion. Need to take and learn more about real nature. Yeah, I was a fan of the going and learning about things. That's kind of what I don't get, because if most stuff that's posted on here is just, okay, I think you should do this, I might not do it, but I'll at least listen to it, and I'll, try to have a dialogue with that person. That's what I think we're doing here right now. It's more so having to do with how it's said and, what it implies. So, for example, you had Mr. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't say Mr. That just got banned. Let me see. Yeah, brought Vulture say the thing about, the other person over there that I don't know what exactly you mean by that, Mr. Sorry, I can't say that. I keep forgetting. I know Sanguine. I don't know what you mean by what you said. So I'm gonna have to reserve my commentary until I get a clarification. I hope it's not of the same implications that others have thrown out there. And it's strange too, because I would think we would just listen to what the person has to say and not really throw anything out there. Oh, thank you. Sanguine. Friend zone is the best place to be. What are you before a friend? You have to pull a transformation. You have to turn Super Saiyan to get out of the friend zone. Learning to more effectively relate will make you much more accessible to and engaging. Yeah, I'm not denying that. I agree. Um, yeah, I remember distinctively that was what caused me to speak about the one woman that was upset about being referred to anonymously, as she claimed that was an invasion of her privacy. I spoke about her only after she essentially told me I'd forever be in the friend zone. Okay, but the problem is when you're. I'm not gonna respond to that. This is really yeah. Put all my stuff out there. Tell everybody what schools I went to, and just give all my stats. Why don't you? I mean, man, just send me a private message. Why do you have to go inside the group? It is what it is. And again, I'm not successful on here. I'm just a decently sized channel, because again, we're not even, and I don't know what the average number of subscribers. Did you comfort her too much? Spoke to her for a couple of weeks. I don't think they know what's going. All right, well, I'm gonna go and answer this thing. I might be back later. This was very engaging, and again, Mr. or rather KG Hustle for Life. You can send me a message, and not bombard the chat room with disclosures of my my origins. So thank you for watching. I'll see you again soon. Probably by tomorrow, maybe earlier. We'll see.